Hello, on Forest Focus. Every now and then a win comes along that's so big it's remembered for generations. Sheffield Wednesday 1, Forest 7, Leeds 3, Forest 7, and now Forest 7, Brighton 0. An unbelievable day at the City Ground. And joining me to try and make sense of it all, first of all, is Paul Morley. Paul, evening, how are you?
Very good. I've got my celebratory beer. I've also got, I think I might give myself a little top up of 7-0. 7-0. There we go. I thought it was appropriate for today. So I'm very good, thank you. Feeling great.
Good. You've added an extra slice of cheese to the podcast as well there. That's very good. Indeed. Simon Fotheringham, you were at the game. Your voice is going, but how are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm hoping it's going to last for at least the next 45, 50 minutes, however long we're on. But the days that it's just a dream, isn't it? It feels like, like you just said there, those days that just stay with you forever. I was at Sheffield Wednesday for the 7-1, sadly not at Leeds for the 7-3, but I was also at the City Ground for the 7-0 win over Chelsea in 1991. So, yeah, what a day. What a day.
What a day indeed. Well, we might need more than 45 minutes. We might need 3 hours today, but we'll try and condense it all, as ever, into what we normally do. We always kick off with general thoughts and trying to sum it all up. So good luck, Paul. Take a stab at it, first of all, on what we witnessed.
Well, it was officially the biggest result swing from one week to the next in Premier League history. So no team has ever lost by 5 and then gone on to win by 7 the following week in the Premier League. God knows how long that record might go back. It could be back to the crazy days of like the 60s where you used to get those weird scores on Boxing Day. Something like that feels like it's probably back to those times that a team has done such a turnaround. And yeah, what a difference a week makes. I mean, just phenomenal from start to finish. So clinical. I know we've talked about as being clinical all season, but that today was a level beyond, wasn't it? And yeah, poor old Brighton. I saw Kevin Maguire tweet this morning that because he's a Brighton fan, isn't he? The Price of Football guy, that he'd gotten up at stupid o'clock to get the train up to Nottingham, and so you feel for those guys. But hopefully they sat back and just watched a pure Nuno Forest masterclass from start to finish today. Absolutely brilliant. Like you say, not sure how we're going to get through it in 45 minutes, but look forward to giving it a stab.
Yeah, we'll do our best. I keep saying we'll do our best. I'm not sure how we're gonna live to the moment, but we shall try. Thank you very much, by the way, to Shepsky for signing up for membership. Appreciate that, and great to have 460 people with us when we go live. So that's pretty mad. So do us a favour and hit like if you haven't already. Fothers, you were in the ground, which is obviously always better than watching on TV. Just sum up the experience, the atmosphere, everything about it that encompassed the day from actually being in the stadium.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, the first half, I think we had just over 40% possession first half. It was typical Forest, and it was very, very similar to the Southampton game. So you looked at it at half time, and we were all chatting at half time, and it's like, oh yeah, we were 3-0 up 2 weeks ago, and look what happened. And we soaked up the pressure. They had a couple of chances, didn't they, which we'll come on to. But 3 clinical goals. Chris Wood never looks like missing when he gets a chance. And the atmosphere start of the second half, I think was a bit nervy. I think the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of the second half, they made the changes at half time. They got on top a little bit. But I remember saying that the next goal's really critical. And I think that was from the players and the fans' perspective, given what had happened at the game against Southampton. And then obviously last week, the moment the fourth went in, it just felt like party time, and it felt like every time we went forward, we were just going to score. And the noise at the end, when Taiwo did that little bit of magic step inside the defender to nearly score the 7th. Oh no, sorry, that was Neco's 6th, wasn't it? We scored again after that. When Jota Silva scored the 7th, honestly, the noise was as good as anything, and that's Wood's equaliser against Man City last year. It was just. Yeah, and I feel really sorry for the people that can't be there at the moment, and I get that we've only got 30,000 seats, but to be there today was special, and something that I'll carry with me forever now, along with the other 3 or 4 times I've seen us score 7.
As Tom says, too many goals to remember. I was struggling to remember where the other goal came from. It was Lewis Dunk, obviously, and we'll come on to that. Simon asked about Neco's mask. I think that was from when he got smashed in the face against Bournemouth. I think perhaps broke a cheekbone or a nose or something.
Nose, I think they said on the commentary.
Okay. We will do a big picture at the end, but I know people in the chat already quite rightly highlighting Newcastle have lost today. I think Bournemouth have lost away as well to Liverpool, despite playing well from what I saw. There's obviously great results, and Southampton I think have won, so they're on 9 points, edging closer to that Derby level. So it's been a dream day all round. Probably the easiest thing to do is just go back all the way to start with team selection, and then we'll take it from there. It was an interesting team selection, Paul, because only 2 changes, but quite a big departure in terms of formation, and obviously Danilo coming back. What did you make of it in general, first of all?
Yeah, didn't necessarily see it coming. I wasn't too surprised with the 3 at the back, because Nuno was talking all week about compact, solid, and I think if you think back to his, I know we haven't really seen it much at Forest, but if you think back to what made his Wolves team so successful, that was his default setup there, wasn't it? And obviously he uses it, 70 minutes plus every time we're ahead. So wasn't overly surprised to see 3 at the back, but obviously Danilo was the big surprise. I think it was last time I was on here after the cup game, and when obviously Danilo came on for 5 minutes and sort of said back then, excited to eventually at some point see him and Anderson link up in the engine room. So really excited to see how that went. And then we kind of had that it was sort of an Amorim formation, wasn't it? That he's employed at Man U, with sort of Gibbs-White and Elanga both sort of playing as number 10s behind Wood, and obviously it worked. I think particularly, I think they set up quite attacking. They just had the one holding midfielder, and we completely sort of overran Hinshelwood, I think it was, wasn't it, in the first half? So yeah, I was surprised by the team selection, but intrigued and quite excited by it.
Yeah, slightly more effectively than Man United in the Amorim formation. I hope he wasn't watching today. But yeah, you're right. Certainly, you're right. Danilo is very much worth talking about for us, and it sort of leads nicely into the first goal. It kind of showed what he brings, doesn't it? That really quick release of a forward pass, and he picked out Gibbs-White, who was in acres of space. And we'll get on to Brighton, but that was a lovely introduction to the game for Danilo, wasn't it?
It was, and to be honest, I mean, what a massive shout from Nuno to give him a start after. I think he's come on off the bench, hasn't he, for 1 game previously to that since his injury. I mean, a massive shout to put him in there, but he clearly trusts him, doesn't he? I mean, that's the big thing for me. That there's players within the squad at the moment that maybe Nuno doesn't trust to start, and he clearly has got that. Absolutely got that. He had a lot of space as well, didn't he? I thought Brighton were poor, and I think again we'll come on to that. But yeah, fabulous introduction to the game. Great ball through to Gibbs-White. What are they doing, giving our best player that much space? I will never know. And the inevitable happened. But it's so good to see Danilo back, and yeah, I thought he was tremendous today.
He was. You can see what he brings, Paul, can't you? I don't think he was perfect, because he had a little spell where he got caught in possession twice, which led to a really big moment. But overall, I think you can see exactly what he brings, and it gives Nuno, a welcome. Well, I don't know if he even gives him a headache, because I think Danilo and Anderson are going to be a really good pair if we can keep them both fit, I suppose. What's your overall thoughts just on that midfield situation now?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's brilliant to see him back, like you guys said, and I think he showed, didn't he, with the ball through to Gibbs-White just for the first goal, just his forward thinking. He's always looking to get the ball forward, and that was picked out Gibbs-White in the space as Father said. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, obviously, again, Sangare as well, obviously coming on. Again, he looked a little bit rusty, but expected after 5 months out. But I think we've now got, with those 2 coming back, just more options depending on obviously who we're playing, what the opposition is, whether it's home or away. We've got different, we've got a lot of adaptability in that centre of the park, and I think the 2 of them together today were obviously turned out to be a perfect blend. And I think, yeah, it's a template now that will be interesting to see how often we use that now going forward. Obviously, Callum coming back, if and when he comes back, is going to add another sort of dimension to how we can set up. But we've just got so many options, which is great. And I kind of said for a while ago that as the season gets deeper and deeper, as we get the likes of Sangare and Danilo back, the more the season goes on, having the ability to rotate that part of the pitch is going to be really helpful to us, particularly when you think the likes of City, Villa, etc., who we're up against for these top 5-6 places have got European games and are going to be playing twice a week sometimes. So I think we can be really positive about the midfield going forward. As touch wood, we don't get any more injuries, but we've got a real pool of players now that any of them. I mean, Yatesy didn't even get on today, but I know we're pretty comfortable whenever he's on the pitch most of the time. So yeah, we've got just loads of options. I think it's fantastic.
Do you think, Paul, Hudson-Odoi's injury sort of forced Nuno's hand a bit? Because Father spoke about trust. I wonder if he doesn't quite trust Sosa and Jota to start, and then Morato feels like a slightly more inevitable option.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a piece of that. I saw somebody put a line up on Twitter before the game saying it was going to be the team, and it had pretty much the 4-2-3-1 with Sosa in instead of Callum, obviously, and I think had Dominguez and Anderson in midfield. And I think had Callum been fit, that's possibly the team we might have seen. Obviously, he picked Danilo. I guess whether he'd have picked Danilo with a back four, or whether again playing the three at the back just gave him that extra bit of comfort that Danilo could come in because we've got an extra sort of man behind him just in case he give the ball away as he did. So yeah, I think Nuno's hand was forced by Callum being off the pitch, but again, it's I said it's great to have so many interesting options and positive options, even though we've got who's been one of our most potent attacking threats for this season out. We clearly didn't miss him having scored 7 today.
Sticking with, I gave Paul 2 questions in a row there, so I want to come to Gibbs-White next, and I feel like Fothers is our Gibbs-White correspondent, so I want to come to Fothers to talk about Gibbs-White's contribution in the first half in particular, and then we'll talk about the goal that he scored. But Morgan sort of ran the show in the first half, I felt, Fothers.
It was the Morgan Gibbs-White show today, wasn't it? I mean, let's be honest. He's I know that I come on here quite regularly, and he's the best player we've got. Bar none. I think that what he brings to the team, both defensively, tracking back, challenging. There was one incident in the second half where he's won the ball, and it was nearly 8. Obviously, it wasn't the 8th goal at the time. It would have probably made it 5 or 6. But he's just so good, and I think that boy can go wherever he wants to go, wherever his career will take him. I thought first half today was as good as anything he's done. Brighton couldn't deal with him. They far too much space for the first goal anyway. But just everything he did, he was pinging crossfield passes. I referred to him as a quarterback. The American football where they throw it to the one player that can do whatever he wants to do, and he has that ability. And I thought it's a shame he's not been credited with the first goal, because he when he got it in that much space, you sort of know what's coming. And I just thought he was fantastic. Biggest disappointment for me is he goes off on 71, because I just enjoy watching him play so much. So real advocate, as you know, for Morgan Gibbs-White, and I just hope that out of all the players that we've got, that we keep him for as long as we possibly can.
Yeah, Lewis Dunk stopped Chris Wood getting 4 goals today, because Chris Wood was there for a tap in behind him. So yeah, thank you for that, Lewis. Peter, thank you very much. Do us a favour, just hit like if you haven't already. I know I'm boring, but it does make a big difference. We shan't do the advert yet. We'll save it till after the goal, Paul. I mean, we can talk about every player, but Elanga was probably the other star of the show first half. He whipped in a really good corner, and the quality of the header from Gibbs-White as well. I mean, that was magnificent, that goal, I thought.
Yeah, I heard them say afterwards they'd been watching. I think it was Gibbs-White was talking afterwards on TNT, saying that they identified a sort of a weak spot in Brighton at the front post, and they've been working on that all week. So, just shows that not only the thought behind it, but the execution was absolutely spot on. Like you say, the whipped in ball, the way he flashed it across. I mean, I think he was being screened by I can't remember if it was Milenkovic or something, or Morato was also sort of making sure that Gibbs-White had an unchallenged run to that ball. So yeah, if you watched him from behind the goal as well, he was quite far beyond the post as well. So it was a really deft sort of flick that he got. Got it perfect, and obviously keeper had no chance. But yeah, Elanga, just coming back to your point, was fantastic today. I know we'll get on to the goals, but just wanted to say about the 4th goal, which with Fothers talked about, when he took his man on the outside. I've kind of been screaming for him to do that all season, and he's done it once or twice, but just need more of that from him. Just perfect show today. When he just takes defenders on. He terrifies them with his pace, and and the more he does that, the more that Wooden or whoever else is crashing the box can just finish off those opportunities. But yeah, Elanga was fantastic today. I think somebody said in the comments, best game in a Forest shirt. Wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all of a similar age. In fact, for once, I might be the youngest person on the panel, but there's nothing wrong with some kind of 90s style winger play, is there, Potters, where you just hit the byline and smash it across or stand up to the back post. And I think Paul's right. It's like, if Elanga could do that more, then teams just can't live with him, can they?
It's like Franz Carr, isn't he? Let's go back to the 90s with Franz Carr. I mean, Franz Carr used to get to the byline, and his final ball used to be not the best, shall we say? I think, in fairness to Franz, but he had the pace that Elanga's got. What Elanga's starting to do now is have that finishing touch. So the cross for Wood's header, the cross for Wood's. Yeah, I mean, he's made that. He's made 2 of Wood's 3, hasn't he? And I thought he was superb today. I think we'll come on to man of the match. He's got to be in the top 3 for me, and I just thought that Elanga today was. I actually had a text message from a Man United friend of mine, and he said, if only we had a winger like Elanga. And that's the way the Man United fans are thinking now. And you would think that a team like Man United wouldn't let a player go that's got that potential. They did with Elanga, and I'm glad they did, because we're benefiting, aren't we?
Sensational indeed. Right, a word for the Trent navigation. The loyalty cards are passed, but you can still order your pizza, obviously from Uber Eats. So yeah, go online, check out there, order a pizza of your choice. It is available now. Fathers, I saw a tweet earlier saying it was packed this morning, pre-match build-up, which is lovely. And you did you do your quiz? Was it busy again?
I did, mate. Yeah, it was really busy. And can I just say, and I'm not normally very good at predicting things, but Chris Wood scored.
You didn't predict we're going to win 7-0, did you?
Well, no, better than that. So not better than that, obviously. But Chris Wood has scored more goals against Brighton than any other team in his career in this country. And I just said, get some money on Chris Wood to score a hat-trick today, genuinely, at the Trent Nav before kickoff today. I rest my case. So if anybody has got anything to do before any games for the rest of the season, or nothing to do, I should say, before any games for the rest of the season, come to the Nav. That's where we give you all the best tips, or maybe just one today.
It was only one we needed. I'm just looking at the top scores. I should have checked this for the Golden Boot. I think, is he on 18 now, Chris Wood?
17, I think.
17.
Salah's got 21 now, isn't he, for today? So
extraordinary. Talk us through his first goal, Paul, if you can remember it amongst the crowd. It was the one that was very nearly offside, but it looks mild offside to me.
Again, another great ball in from Elanga, wasn't it? To tell you what was really, really smart of Forest when they scored that goal. So it happened when Matoma was off the pitch getting treatment, and we had a goal kick. And obviously, 99 times out of 100, we know that Sells goes long. And it was really smart. They recognised the fact that Matoma was off the pitch, and Sells played it wide to Olarena, and they took their time but patiently worked their way up that side of the pitch where there was a gap for Matoma not being there, and eventually worked it wide to Elanga. Brilliant ball across, and Wood obviously does what he does. So I just thought there's a little bit more to that goal than the finish. It was actually really worth thinking about the way that Forest was so smart and taking advantage of the 10 men and where the space was with Matoma not being on the left hand side. So excellent goal all round the team, and brilliantly sort of engineered by Elanga, and Chris Wood was never going to miss. So fantastic goal.
Yeah, 17 goals in 23 games for Chris Wood, which is insane. I mean, when we signed him, I'd never have dreamed of that. I thought it was an okay signing, but crazy. We'll come on to his other 2 goals. Brighton make 3 half-time subs, and they actually bring a central midfielder on, which I didn't know was on the bench, in Matt O'Reilly. So it feels like a kind of a good juncture for us to talk about how Brighton probably helped us. Like Bournemouth last week were brilliant, and it shows sometimes your opponents are a factor in a result. And Brighton were awful, and I just did not understand their tactics of playing one in midfield. I know they had Pedro and Ruta alongside him, but they were basically playing as number 10s. I mean, it was pretty mad from Brighton's manager, wasn't it?
It was. I love their front four. I think Brighton, quality wise, up top, have got probably as good as anything in the Premier League with the players that they've got. Was it Hinchelwood that was playing on his own in midfield?
Yeah, young lad as well. Yeah,
a young lad, and I've seen on social media since the game that he's getting slated by some Brighton fans, and it's like, well, that's not his fault, is it? You've popped him in there with, Anderson and Gibbs-White and Danilo, who completely overran Brighton. And I mean, let's get carried away with a 7-0 win, but they were shocking, weren't they, today? When you think that they've not lost 2 games back to back all season until now, playing like that. Whether and I haven't watched them week in, week out, Matt, so I don't know whether today was just an off day for them or what. But they were very poor. The back four looked really, really bad as well, didn't they? The Lewis Dunk just spent most of the time just moaning to the referee about decisions that the ref was making, when actually you just weren't good enough today, and it was so obvious that you just weren't good enough, and we overran them, didn't we?
Yeah. I don't want to dwell on that because obviously we won 7-0, but I thought you have to kind of flag it that, Brighton were awful, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and you can't normally beat them that emphatically. So we were brilliant, but have to recognise it. Going back to one incident in the first half, Paul, which was actually pivotal to the game. It's not very often you lean on your keeper in a 7-0, but Matt Sells had a couple of really big moments today. Particularly, I thought the save from Minter at 2-0, because if that goes in, it could have been a different game, having lost 5-0, having wobbled against Southampton. So we'll talk about the other save he made, but full credit to Sells for that one, I guess.
Hugely, yeah. He was a big influential part in the game, which, as you say, you don't often think about when it's 7-0. But I think I said on here the other week, that goalkeepers. People say, you were lucky your goalkeeper made that save, but that's what goalkeepers are there for. And you think about the great goalkeepers over the history of time, are remembered because they make great saves when their team needs them, which effectively then the team takes advantage of. So absolutely did that today with both. I mean, 2-1. If that goes in, which with the one he sort of came out and smothered and sort of got his backside under it, sort of sat on it really, didn't he? But I mean, just alertness off his line, which was great, and just came and made himself big. Like I say, reminded me of Schmeichel used to be back in the 90s for Man U. That sort of spread yourself, make yourself big, and then as you say, the save from Welbeck, wasn't it, where he just got his fingertip to it and touched it onto the bar, and clearly you can see by how close it was to going over the line that fingertip was absolutely crucial in making a difference for that not going. Even if that gone in at 3-1, it still is a different complexion going into half time. They've got their tails up a little bit, feel like they're back in the game. So yeah, 2 massive moments from Sells, and continues to be a really, really important cog in the Forest machine.
Were you aware that Sells saved that one onto the bar for us? Because you would have been behind the goal. It was impossible to see. I don't know if you've seen a replay of it yet or not.
I haven't seen a replay, but I was talking to my brother at half time, and he said he'd seen a replay on Twitter or something, and he saw that. No, it was on the big screen. They showed it again on the big screen. That's right. And I didn't see it when it was on the big screen because that's sort of to the side of me. But he said that he'd seen that he'd got a fingertip to it and basically pushed it onto the bar. What an incredible save! He was brilliant again today, wasn't he? Like Paul says, coming out to block Minter when he was through. And I know the game was already over, but that shot at the end when he just tips it over as well. There was a free kick as well that he's just tipped over. I find it amazing that the 2 players that we were looking at in the summer when I was on this podcast a couple of times, and we were looking at, we need a goalkeeper and we need a striker, and we've got Matt Sells and Chris Wood. It's mad.
It was. I mean, not to go full Warburton, but the finest of fine margins when that one bounced on the line, and it was about an eighth of the ball that hadn't gone over the line. But Matt Sells earned that luck. Certainly, that was an unbelievable save. It's interesting as well.
Sorry, Matt. I think today as well we had the luck with us as well, didn't we? And I think last week at Bournemouth we didn't. And I know luck, it's not all about luck, and you make your own luck. But I do think that the majority of this season, it's sort of gone for us a bit. And VAR went for us today, and that went for us today, where the ball drops down on the goal line. And I just think it was just meant to be. It was our day today, and last Saturday it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know if it's luck. I think I know what you're saying. I think that certainly the key moments went for us, which is what I was kind of leading into there, Paul. Like Father said earlier, I didn't think we started the second half very well at all, really. But then that goal comes at 4-0, really against the run of play. And like Father said, it's party time there. And I guess that comes down to partly how we play. Did Danilo pop it into Elanga, I think, and then he beat him, and then I don't know. Chris Wood again.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the best of Elanga, wasn't it? It was what you want to see him do all the time, particularly against someone like Dunk, who he knows he's absolutely got the beating of if he goes up against him. And you talk about Brighton being poor, and I think that's the one thing that for every time we've played against Brighton, and when we beat them 3-1 in that first season, the lack of pace at the back when Danilo, I think, it scored, didn't he? Sort of sprinted away from Dunk on that occasion. So we knew that Elanga could get at them with his pace, and that was just a perfect example of how he frightens defenders, like we said earlier. And you're right, I was feeling, having been to the Southampton game a couple of weeks ago and walked over the bridge with Fathers before that game, and having sat there through that turnaround in the second half, I wouldn't say I was nervous at half time, but particularly the way they came out in the second half, you almost kind of expected, okay, this is what Forest do. We're gonna concede and gonna have a nervy bit of time. But yeah, that just completely killed the game, and their heads went down after that. But coming back to what you were saying before about the Sells save at the end from the free kick. And I think we displayed it at both ends of the pitch. Just the hunger was there today. It was brilliant to see the hunger to keep a clean sheet, and also the hunger for scoring goals. Jota, the way that we handled the goalkeeper for that 7th goal, and we'll get onto it, but just showed that we just had that hunger and desire at both ends of the pitch today. A, to keep the ball out of the net, and B, to get as many in their net as we could. And that's all you want to see from your team, and that was what was missing last week. And whatever Nuno's done and said during the week, I think he's given them a few days off, hasn't he, during the week, which raised a few eyebrows, I think, on Twitter. But it turned out it was a sort of a bit of a masterstroke by giving them all 3 or 4 days off and letting them get away from it for a little bit and come back, refocus, and yeah, absolutely work to a T.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's brilliant management. And Graham says here, give credit to Nuno and tactics. But also, I know a few people kicked off about Murillo going to Paris last weekend and all that stuff. I don't mind that. If you've got hammered, if it's happening all the time, you don't want to go to Paris every week. But if it's a one-off and you want to hit reset, then yeah, I think so. So yeah, brilliant from Nuno. Full credit to him. Sticking with the sort of theme of things going with us a little bit on the penalty, I thought it was definitely a penalty. Have you seen it back, Fathers? Because I'll ask Paul if you haven't. I
haven't. Go with Paul on this one.
Okay. I mean, I thought it was definitely a penalty, but 9 times out of 10 they're not given. So, what were your thoughts on that, Paul?
Yeah, it's a bit surprised it was given, but I agree. I mean, I think it was probably more. The ball went right into the near post, which is where Gibbs-White was, and obviously we saw what he did in the first half. I think arguably the fact that he scored a goal from almost a kind of carbon copy of what we tried to do on that corner must have made the referee think, well, actually that was ball in for Gibbs-White, and he was the one that was sort of wrestled to the floor. So I think the goal that he scored might have played a part in winning that penalty, given that the ball was delivered into pretty much the same area. So, but yeah, I agree with you. Definite penalty. He clearly sort of wrestled him to the ground. Had the ball been played, and gone way over his head and gone to the back stick, possibly wouldn't have been given. But it was right in the area of where he was attacking. So yeah, I think it was the only decision. Particularly once it was given, it was never going to get overturned. It was one of those.
No, and the ref was all right today. I mean, I'll praise refs and criticise refs. I try not to criticise refs. He was fine. When he books Murillo, I thought, I can't believe that's a yellow card. But when you watch it back, it probably was. And a few others that probably were, definitely were. So, yeah, he was fine. He was fine. Any doubt in your mind at all, Fathers, that Chris Wood was going to score that or miss that, I should say?
The penalty?
Yeah.
No, it's never in doubt, is it? Woody at the moment, I just think, when Elanga puts that ball into the back stick in the first half, you just know he's gonna put it on target, probably in a place where the goalkeeper is not going to get to it. The tap in for the 3rd goal that he got for his hat trick, was that his 3rd goal, or was the penalty his 3rd goal?
The penalty was his 3rd goal.
The penalty was his 3rd goal. I just felt And you've sat and watched the game with me, Matt. You know how nervous I am. I was very, very comfortable that Chris Wood was going to score that penalty at whatever the score was at that point. Did that make it 5?
Yes,
Yeah.
that made it 5-0. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I know. We're not used to this in the Premier League. I mean, obviously, what was our previous? If anyone knows this in the chat, our previous best win in the Premier League before today, in terms of goals scored, we scored 4, hadn't we, in a game? I'm sure. Oh,
4-3
against
though,
Southampton.
4-3,
Yeah, against South. Yeah, and Sheffield United away. I think we scored 4. Yeah, but we never scored 5. We'll get on to 6 and 7, obviously. There was some suggestion on a different commentary feed that I might have witnessed that Milenkovic should have had a penalty given against him for heading Danny Welbeck. Absolutely no idea what they were talking about there. I thought that was he wasn't even trying to win the ball. They just hit heads in the box. So yeah, that was crazy. Just doing it chronologically. The only potential downside in the game, Paul, Murillo hobbled off with, to me, I don't know if you agree, it looked very similar to the kind of injury that he suffered at Everton. He was holding his hip, and that was what it was. So, I mean, we'll wait and see, but that could be a worry, couldn't it?
Could be, although I think we've got 2 weeks till we're back in Premier League action again, and we've got the cup
good point. Yeah,
won't feature in. So, I think it's hopefully, I guess if we'd have been 1-1 or 2-1 up, possibly would have kept him on and see if he'd have soldiered through, because he goes down quite a lot. He's the type of player, he does almost seem to get nearly injured in every game, doesn't he? He sort of has treatment pretty much in every game and seems to be able to soldier through. So hopefully it was a precaution, but even if it was a slight niggle, I think the one at Everton only kept him out for 1 game, doesn't it? And as I say, the fact that we've got 2 weeks before we next play again hopefully means that that whatever it was is able to be managed over the next couple of weeks, and we're seeing back on the pitch at Fulham in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, I think he's been carrying it since then. I'm just playing through it, and I think he might have done it when he did it. I mean, it was brilliant play where he won the ball and he ran it out and he took on Ruta, I think, and won a throw-in or something. I wonder if he did it there. Was there a bit in the first half? I didn't see who it was on commentary where someone pinged it through and Ilanga ran in behind and the keeper cleaned it up. Was that Murillo or was that Williams?
Yeah, Murillo with his right foot.
With his right foot. That's why I mentioned it. Unbelievable talent to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he wasn't the star of the show, but I think we're witnessing just sort of almost a generational talent. I know he's not perfect, but for his age and talent, Fothers, it's just mad, isn't it?
It is, and just thinking about his injury, I was talking to a contact that I've got who works at the club, and the Everton thing was nothing major. It was all precautionary. There's nothing to worry about in terms of anything from that. I don't think this is an overhang from that. I just love watching him play. We've said this on the podcast before, haven't we? I think we're in a position now at Forest, aren't we, where we're just very lucky to have players like Murillo and Gibbs-White. Ola Aina, some of the stuff that Ola Aina does with his body swerves and his check backs and flicking it back and stuff. It's just an absolute pleasure to watch. But Murillo, when he gets it, he nearly went on a run down the wing, didn't he? Which I think is the moment that you're talking about there today, and you just want him to score. You just go on one of those runs and score and do something, but it will come and he'll start scoring goals more than he is at the moment. I think he's still only got that one for us, hasn't he, against Newcastle? But he's an enigma, and we're just very lucky to have him. And I just hope that we can hang on to players like him, Gibbs-White, just for a lot longer yet, because I just want to watch them play.
Yeah, I asked that question badly before about previous Premier League wins. I meant in this kind of incarnation since we got promoted, but people rightly pointing out the 7-1 at Sheffield Wednesday, 7-0 at Chelsea, which I'm pretty sure was Colin Frey's first ever game commentating for Forest. I'm sure he told me that. So I'm sure Colin enjoyed today. And everyone else. I haven't watched the goals back yet, but the screaming of Steve Hodge or Brian Laws will be fun on this one, and the match day pass as well. Let's clean up the final 2 goals then before we get into some bigger thoughts. 80 minutes, Taiwo comes on, Sangare comes on. We'll come to the goals in a sec. Sangare has a part in one, I suppose, but it's good to see him come back on, Paul. I don't think he played very well, I'll be honest, but in a way, it's sort of irrelevant in a way, isn't it? It's just good to get him back in and in the mix, and hopefully he develops over the next few months to be more of a contender to play more.
Yeah, I mean, bringing him on at 5-0 with 10 minutes to go is the perfect scenario, isn't it? I think probably, again, had it been a tighter game, we probably wouldn't have seen him today. So, but yeah, just great that he got some minutes out on the pitch. Clearly, he's one of those that divides opinion. I think as Fletch said on the commentary, we're yet to really see the real Sangare. We've seen it in fits and starts and the odd game here and there. But hopefully this can be, if he stays healthy till the end of the season, like I said earlier, as we get deeper into the season, Sangare in particular and Danilo, who obviously came back today, are both going to have a part to play if we're going to get ourselves over the line, I think, for Champions League football, because we're going to need that freshness in the middle of the park as the season goes on. So, yeah, great to see him back. Like you say, he was a little bit slow, gave away a few free kicks from being half a yard sort of, behind, off the pace sort of thing. But yeah, I think the main thing was he's back on the field and he can build from here, and hopefully, gets more game time, perhaps in the FA Cup at Exeter. It'd be good to get him, 60, 70 minutes in that game if possible.
Yeah, I think so. I thought he was playing pretty well before his injury. I thought he started the season well. So I know there's a player in there. I think that's what frustrates me, or fans in general, that there is a good player in there. I think we're just not quite seeing it consistently yet. So I hope we do get to see it. The sixth goal then for us. Taiwo came on. I was pleased he looked a bit sharper, far from perfect, but he had a big hand in that goal. He did really well. I'll credit the keeper with a good save, I think. And then Neco, who's deserved a goal. He hit the post in the first half, which we haven't even mentioned. It's sort of an afterthought. Yeah. Neco comes in and actually kind of a calm finish if he can smash it into top corner calmly.
Well, I think again, I haven't watched it back, but didn't Sangare have a chance as well? Because the goalkeeper's palmed it out from Taiwo. Brilliant step over, by the way. A step over that sort of took me back 18 months to when Taiwo was Taiwo. And the goalkeeper's made a great save. It's fell to Sangare. He tried to stab it in, I think. But as he was trying to stab it in, and I need to watch it back, but I think he was pushed onto the ball. And then they were checking a handball from him because he sort of fell on the ball. And then Neco just smacked it into the roof of the net and then went and celebrated in front of the mad Trent End. It was just bizarre. Honestly, the atmosphere when he smashed that into the roof of the net was as good as anything for the last, 3 years or whatever it is since we became a force to be reckoned with again, and first on Match of the Day tonight, I would hope. So yeah, Taiwo did great. I think just going back to Sangare, there was a guy behind me slating him from the moment he came on before he even touched it. I think what we just need to chill out. We just need to give him a chance, and I think we maybe need to give Taiwo a chance if he doesn't leave before the transfer deadline day on Monday. I thought he looked sharp. He looks leaner. I don't know. We know there's a player in Taiwo because we've seen it. We don't know there's a player in Sangare because we haven't seen it. But I'm like you, Matt. I want there to be. I want there to be a player in there, and I think if we give him a chance, there probably will be. I think
so. Just on that goal, there was a VAR check for handball, but it couldn't have been handball. If it was a handball, if it was. It was a penalty, if anything, because they shoved Sangare over. So I don't know what Brighton made.
He sort of fell on the ball and just
it hit his hand. Yeah,
it almost looked like he'd perhaps sort of tried to drag the ball in as well, maybe. But listen, VAR always gets it right, doesn't it? So and it clearly got that one right as well.
And at that moment, in fact, before then, you're kind of in that rare dreamland as a football fan where you can absolutely relax and enjoy everything that happens. I remember, obviously we're not there very often, Forest in the Premier League, but like when we were 3-0 up against West Ham and we could have scored 7. Today we did score 7. We got the 7th through Jota. It feels like we could have scored even more, actually, Paul. Even after then, we were taking the piss a bit, which I love. But pleased for Jota. Again, I thought he struggled against Bournemouth, but he played well when he came on. And full credit to him. A nice finish as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, it was what was most pleasing to see was the hunger. Chasing down, closing down the goalkeeper, making them make the mistake. Even if you're 7-0 up in injury time, that's when you've got players that you bring on, and particularly someone like Jota who hasn't had the best few weeks, I think it's fair to say. And a lot of people, I think, before today were obviously calling for Sosa, and it's one of those situations where Sosa's almost become a better player by not playing because Jota's had a few rough games. It sort of felt like that the tide of opinion was, if Hudson-Odoi is out, switch Elanga over to the right and bring Sosa in rather than what we saw at Bournemouth. So yeah, pleased for Jota. I think he always gives his all. And I think what we've got to remember about both of those players is, they were bought to be competition for the wingers, but probably always in mind as backup players for a team that was sort of trying to become, move up the next rung of the ladder in the Premier League. And if I think last couple of seasons we've been in that sort of bottom 5. The next rung is from 14th or 15th to 11th. Then you've got the sort of 10th to 7th. We've leapfrog 2 rungs pretty much, gone from rung 4 to rung 1 in the space of 6 months since those guys were signed. So, and there's been a lot of talk in the last few weeks about how there's a drop off when they come on and the quality's not there. I think we've got to remember that they weren't necessarily bought to be top 4 players. So it's going to take them some time to make sure that they can prove that they can be that. And we still don't really know yet on either of them what exactly they've got to offer, because we've seen probably not enough for both of them to make a fully informed judgment. But yeah, pleased for him today. That'll only help his confidence. Like you say, slotted it away nicely, and yeah, it was a great way to round off the game.
Just finishing up on the game, Fodders, before we get to man the match, and a bit on the bigger picture as we always do. I guess it's the scale of the turnaround. I know it's only the second time you've seen that kind of swing in Premier League history. Sheffield Wednesday lost, I think they lost like 6-1 to Man United and then won 5-0 or something in the following game. But what it says about this team, because I think I wanted us to get back to basics and defend well. I know we scored 7 goals, but the thing that pleased me almost as much as that was we looked so much more, hungry and disciplined, as people have said, because Brighton did carry a threat. So it feels like Forest are back in a way after that awful Bournemouth result, and the thing about no panic was right.
I think so, and I think what we need to take from this is the fact that the Bournemouth game was the blip, and that was the one where everybody had an off day. Bournemouth were good. I mean, the atmosphere, I know it's only a small stadium down there, but the atmosphere came across really well on the TV. And I think we just folded a little bit un-Forest-like, didn't we? And I think that was the bit that shocked everybody the most. And I think most people who aren't watching Forest on a weekly basis were like, oh, there we go, the bubbles burst. This is what everybody was expecting. And actually for us, it was so un-Forest-like at Bournemouth last week that I think that was the biggest shock. And I think today was massive. And I think every single Forest fan would have taken 1-0 off somebody's arse in the last minute today, just to get that clean sheet and just to get back to what we're good at. And I think what we've done is we've just ripped all of that up as well, haven't we? And actually what we can do now is look forward to the last 14 games or whatever we've got. Forget Bournemouth. That yes, it happened, but what I think from Bournemouth is that Nuno's learnt from it, the players have learnt from it, and you've seen a reaction beyond all of our wildest dreams today. So let's bring on, okay, Exeter in the cup, whatever. That's a bit of I think he'll make changes. I think we might see a bit stronger team than maybe we saw in the third round. But then let's get back to Fulham away and Arsenal and let's forget about Bournemouth, because that's gone. And what we've got now is a performance from Forest today that was 37% possession. Brighton have the ball, but watch us on the break, because we're going to smash you every time that we get a chance to. And that was what we've been watching. And happy days.
I think, as Father said, even if we'd have won 1-0 with someone's arse off in the last minute, it would have been the most important win of the season. Not obviously not the best, but the most important, given what it's come off the back of. And I'll tell you another reason why I think it's so important, and particularly the magnitude of the win, why we might see it, how important it is in the next couple of days, is if you think about leading up to the Bournemouth game, there was loads of talk about certain targets, about who we were in for and bids we were going to make and stuff, and it's all gone a little bit quiet in the last 7 days, possibly as a reaction to maybe if we've had a few irons in the fire that have had their sort of feet cooled a little bit by looking at the 5-0 against Bournemouth and thinking, well, yeah, not sure if I really fancy that, and maybe Forest are not the team to sign for. Today puts us right back in the picture in the league, obviously, but actually for those, if there is anybody that might have been having second thoughts about whether Forest is a place where they can come and be successful, today has really, turned that around again. And it'd be interesting to see whether on Monday or even tomorrow, what happens in the transfer market, because I think today it's only going to be helpful to us getting, if there is any deals that might have been close in the last couple of weeks, it's going to be close to getting over the line. So for that reason, I think today's a really important result as well.
We'll come back to transfers. Obviously, the deadline's on Monday, and I'll tell you what our plans are for Monday as well. Have a think about man of the match, chaps, while I give a word for Nottingham Window Company. Thanks as ever for their support. Very much appreciated. If you're looking for windows or doors, do check them out. As secure as the Forest defence, as slick as a Murillo 60-yard switch, as stylish as a Gibbs-White pirouette. These are the windows and doors that you want. So do check out the link in the description. I mean, that was a borderline professional advert. It was insanely cheesy, sorry, but I thought I'd give it my best after a win like that, 7-0 win. So thanks very much to Nottingham Window Company. Right, 750 people watching. Very much appreciate you being here. Do hit like if you haven't already. Do hit subscribe. Got over 10,000 subscribers now, which is great. I'm stalling to give these lads a few more seconds for man of the match thoughts. Fothers, do you want to go first? Who are your contenders and what's your final verdict?
Okay, so I think everybody was at least 8 out of 10 today. I think Elanga, Wood and Sells were 9 out of 10. And I think Morgan Gibbs-White was 9.5 out of 10 because I thought he was absolutely world class. So I've surprised you there, haven't I, Matt? But Morgan Gibbs-White gets my vote.
Oh, I'm never surprised if you pick Morgan Gibbs-White as man of the match, brothers. No, but he was brilliant. He was brilliant. Paul, contenders and man of the match for you?
Oh, it's really difficult. I think it's between three. I'll give Sells a mention as well for the saves, but obviously Wood hat trick. I mean, how often do you get a hat trick and not get man of the match? I know he got given it on TNT. Elanga was superb with his setup play. I can't really argue with Fothers. I think had Morgan played more than 71 minutes, it would have been absolutely a shoo-in that it would be him. So the only fact that he came off with 20 minutes to go, and Elanga and Wood played more minutes. I think Elanga played the whole game, didn't he? But I think Morgan just set the tone from the off and was absolutely superb in that first half. It was a bit like it was the same similar performance from him in that first half. We saw that Fulham game last season when he absolutely ran the game in the first half. So I think Morgan, just for me, nicks it. Although Wood got a hat trick and Elanga was fantastic as well.
I'm going to do a player ratings video for members after this, where I'll probably change my mind. So, the same 4 contenders. Sells, even in a 7-0 win, he's not man of the match, but they were big contributions. Elanga, Wood, and Gibbs-White. I don't know. I mean, I feel like one of us has to give it to Chris Wood, especially for the 4th goal. We weren't wobbling; we were 3-0 up, but that was. A pretty big moment. His movement is just unbelievable. Like, if you think about his goals, not the penalty, but the header, he just peels off his man and finds space, and he scores that goal quite a lot. That's a proper Chris Wood goal. And then the second one is a tap in, but it's great movement. So I don't know. It could be any of them. I'll say Chris Wood, but I'll probably change my mind. It's one of them where there were so many contenders. Because Gibbs-White was great as well. So I don't know. I'm talking all around it. I've done a terrible job of putting those lads on the spot and then not committing myself. Go on, Father. Sorry.
I was going to say, this is the problem, isn't it? Paul's just said there, you've got a guy who scored 3 goals, who really should get man of the match. You've got Anthony Elanga, who creates 3 assists in the hardest league in the world, who really should get man of the match for that. And then you've got Morgan Gibbs-White, who was world class. And Matt Sells tipping it over and blocking shots and doing what he does when he needs to. So, as well as the other 7 players.
One thing I did see, which was brilliant. I don't know if you saw it yet. I think Forrest put it out on Twitter. It was Gibbs-White's 100th game, wasn't it, today for the club? And there's a really lovely video of them all in the dressing room afterwards, presenting with a framed shirt which says Gibbs-White 100, and he does a little speech. And obviously they're all, in raptures given what they've just produced on the pitch. So if anyone hasn't seen that, go and look that up. That's a really, really nice video.
Yeah, I'll probably commit. I feel like I should commit to Morgan because he set up the first goal and he scored the second, and they were the ones that probably won the game. That was a really good header, and it was, a fantastic performance in the first half when we won the match. Chris Wood's just stealing the glory with a penalty and a tap in when the game's already won. Rubbish, Chris Wood. Right, I'm going on New Zealand radio at 7, so I can't really say that. But yeah, well done, Morgan Gibbs-White. Right, just rounding things up then. We've sort of touched on it a little bit, but now we go into this next stretch of games, Paul. It's still going to be so hard. Like Fulham have won at Newcastle today. Newcastle are wobbling a little bit, but they're a top side, and then Arsenal and City. How are you feeling about them now as we head into a really, really big 4 games for us?
A lot better than I did at midday today, that's for sure. After seeing that, I was kind of half anticipating. You might mention it, the prediction league thing. So I actually predicted a draw today.
I think I did as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought. I didn't expect us to bounce back as well as I wouldn't have surprised if we won 1-0 or 2-1 or whatever, but I just felt like a draw. So yeah, I think the next 4 games are super tough, aren't they? I mean, if you probably offered me 4 draws right now, I'd probably take it, to be honest. I mean, they look that difficult on paper, but I don't know. City and Arsenal. I mean, City. Just don't quite know what you're going to get with them at the minute. I mean, they could be anything. As we saw, they were really good against us, and then the next few weeks after that, they were poor again. So who knows? I think we just got to worry about ourselves, haven't we? Just prepare like we did for today, going with a game plan. Like I say, we've now got so many options with everybody, assuming everyone stays fit. So we shouldn't have any fear going into any of those games. That's the one thing I will say. We shouldn't approach it with any fear. Like you say, Fulham have been great, been beating Newcastle. That means Newcastle are vulnerable at home, against a team like Fulham. So Fulham can go to Newcastle and win. Why can't we? So yeah, nothing to fear. I think just take it game by game. Focus on Exeter, as Father said. Hopefully that's a fairly comfortable passage to the next round of the cup, and then all eyes on Fulham, where we can definitely go and get something.
Yeah, I totally forgot Exeter's next. Apologies for that. You're right, Paul. You're right. I'll just mention the upcoming fixtures as well. And obviously it's City v Arsenal tomorrow, which can only work in our favour in, almost whatever the result is. I kind of quite like an Arsenal win there. I must admit, I just want to worry about the Champions League place. So yeah, hopefully Arsenal win that one, to be honest. Then next week, Premier League wise, it is City versus Newcastle. So again, that's good for us either way. Chelsea go to Brighton, and Chelsea play tomorrow as well. They've got West Ham, so yeah, Chelsea are
also going back to West Ham to Chelsea. They've got a point to prove.
Yeah, exactly,
That could be interesting.
Yeah, we're just in that situation where teams are playing each other, and obviously we're in that bracket for the subsequent 3 games. So I guess we, as you say, we just look after ourselves. Just one other for you, before we get onto transfers. Are you sticking with the back 3 now?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've got to as well. I can't remember who it was in the column, in the chat column, but Willie Bolly needs a bit of a shout out as well. Thought he was outstanding when he came on. There was one bit where he just sort of let it go past him when the defender thought he might be in with when the Brighton striker thought he might be in with a shout. So yeah, bit tongue in cheek, but yeah, Willie Bolly, always good to bring on when you're 6-0 up. But yeah, why not? It works, doesn't it? And if that means that we can play Danilo in the role that we've got Danilo, then whether Danilo can still do 90 minutes or not, given the injury that he's had, is one to watch. But what I like about it is that we can play well, and let's forget Bournemouth. We can play well 4 at the back, or we can play well 5 at the back. And what we've got is the ability to switch between them, because we've got the Brazilian to bring in at the back. What's his name? Centre half plate. Morato, thank you. Forgot his name there. We've got Morato who can come in if we need him to, with Milenkovic and Murillo. So we've got the flexibility to do that. We've got the flexibility in midfield now. And there's no reason at all why we can't go against any of these teams and get results. Arsenal and Man City have both got to come to the City ground. We've beaten them both No, we haven't beat City yet, have we? We've beaten Arsenal since we got back up into the Premier League, and it's only a matter of time before we beat Man City. Now's as good a time as any. I don't fear anyone right now. Like Paul says, though, at 12 o'clock today, maybe I did, but I think let's put the Bournemouth game to bed and let's move on.
Yeah, and one other point about today, as you mentioned, our goal difference had taken a hammering, but now it's plus 13, which is the same as Newcastle, and it's in the vicinity of City and Chelsea, and it's level with Bournemouth. It's only Arsenal and obviously Liverpool the streaking ahead with that. So that was useful as well today. James asked what radio station it is on New Zealand. I've no idea, James. The host is Jason Pine, who's a lovely guy. So if you know who Jason is, I think it's like Sports Talk New Zealand or something like that. Oh, Dansgate, what a hero. £5 just to say Willy Bolly man of the match. I love it. Bring Willy Bolly on every game just for Dansgate to make that. I love it. Thank you. Final topic just before we go quickly. Transfer deadline day is on Monday. We shall be live from 9 p.m. till just after 11. Myself and Lewis will do both hours, and then we'll have a variety of other people with us for the subsequent 2 hours. Not subsequent, that doesn't make sense. That'll be up till 1 a.m. for those 2 hours. Right, so do join us for that. Paul, and I'll ask Fothers the same question. What would you like to see transfer-wise between now and 11 p.m. on Monday?
You're asking me first. I still think another striker. I know Taiwo had a better cameo today than he has done in recent weeks, but I would like to see a forward player come in just to give us that extra depth in that area. I know we've obviously been linked with Douglas Luiz, and you know he'd be a fantastic addition, but I think we're pretty well stocked for central midfielders. So I wouldn't sort of. I'm not too fussed if no one comes in that position. But yeah, I think if we sign one player, it'll be a striker for me.
Fothers, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think somebody put in the chat earlier on about Taiwo being a third choice striker, and I think that would be the right move for me. I think if he's your third choice, then that is the way we need to go heading forward. I think so. It's been remarkably quiet, hasn't it? It's been remarkably quiet this January. I know last January we got the business done early. It'll be interesting to see if anything happens between now and close of play on Monday. But I agree with Paul. I still think the thing that worries me is injuries. And I think if Woody got injured, would any of us really trust Taiwo for the last 13, 14 games? Probably not. So if there is a striker out there that could come in and make us better, then let's do that before the window closes on Monday.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was just saying, I wrote in my notes after 73 minutes, Chris Wood hobbling, season on the line or something like that. He was fine, obviously. Go on, Paul. I was
going to say, I think the issue is if Wood did get injured, Taiwo probably could do a job, but it would take him 4 or 5 games to get up to speed, and we haven't got that luxury. I think that's if we know that once he gets minutes under his belt, he can be effective, but we need someone to come in and hit the ground running. He just doesn't feel like he's there at the minute. So yeah, for me, I'm happy to keep Taiwo, but I'd like another one.
Yeah, if we were Brighton in mid-table, then I'd probably say you don't wait till the summer to buy a striker. But where we are now, it feels like grass the nettle, if that's the phrase. It's nettle, not metal. Yeah, nettle obviously because it stings. Yeah, just a forward for me as well, the same as the lads. Not necessarily a striker, but ideally someone who can play the Chris Wood role, but play across the front line, like we saw with Hudson-Odoi missing. Nuno found a solution today, but I'd like to have the option of a really good quality forward to put all the money into that, whatever the money is. I would say, obviously, as well now Hudson-Odoi, we don't have to rush him back. You feel. Again, if he's 2 weeks' time for Fulham and he's still 50-50, and if he can go on the bench or something like that, so yeah, it's good. But just that would be it for me. News.
Oh, blackout in the Davies household.
That's not good news, Paul. Looks like we're hosting.
Finishing the show, doesn't it?
Where's he gone?
I don't know. He's gone into a black hole. I think he's fell into, hasn't he?
This has never happened before.
No, it hasn't. Well, we can try and. I think he was getting towards wrapping up. I assume he was. I mean, he's already talked about on Monday being back for the transfer window and stuff. So whether or not he was going to give anybody else a shout out before the end, I'm not sure.
Somebody's just said in the have we got a power cut? The ghost of Matt Davies.
Just the way it's frozen around.
The problem, Paul, yeah, anybody who's watching now, the problem Paul and I have got is that we can't allow Matt back in because he controls all of that. So maybe he's just
talking.
Yeah.
So, why don't we ask people in the chat who they want us to sign? And I've seen a few Anderson shouts. So if we're going to sign a striker, I've got Anderson, Visser. Who do we want?
Somebody's just said do a quiz. So well, I normally do, but I'm not very good at impromptu ones.
Matt just text me. What's he saying? Power cut. He did say you're right. Power cut. Whoever said power cut was right.
There you go.
Tell deal. He didn't fancy going to Tottenham, did he, Matthias Tell? But I'm not sure whether he'd come for us. Jimenez, Simon says, I think he's gone to AC Milan today. Ribeiro from Brazil. Not sure about him. Don't know who he is.
Is Wisser still a possibility? Are they still talking about Wisser as being a possibility?
Well, yeah, he's not gone anywhere else, has he? So I think they play tomorrow, don't they, against Tottenham? So I mean, you assume he's going to play that game. I think just coming back to Ferguson. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Ferguson being injured and therefore or having a niggle. But obviously, he came on for 15 minutes today. Didn't really get much of a kick, did he? But I think for me, someone like him, he is. I guess a bit more of a like for like, isn't he? He's a target man who versus Visser, who's more of the sort of versatile, play across the front three. I think the one reservation I have with Visser, if we sign him, would be we'd have to pretty much fundamentally change the way we play when he's on the pitch, because again, if you think about how we tend not to mess about with it at the back, we've talked about that earlier, we go long to either Wood or Taiwo. I don't think you can really do that with Visser. He's not got that sort of physical presence. So I think if Visser was to if let's say we signed Visser, Wood got injured and Visser played for 10-15 games, as good a player as he is, we'd have to change our approach fundamentally. I'm not necessarily against that, but I think that's probably something you need to do over the course of a pre-season rather than, midway through the season. So if we're going to sign a striker, I'd personally rather have somebody who fits the physical sort of mould like Wood and Taiwo, which, tends to lead me more towards a Ferguson type figure. I'm not sure about whether it's Ferguson or not, but someone a bit more like that.
What's your thoughts on Delap, Paul? Because he's getting a few mentions in the...
He scored again today, didn't he? Scored a good goal saw today. Yeah, I mean, again, he's the right profile. I doubt very much whether Ipswich would let him go in the situation that they're in. I think, again, that might be an end of the season job. But, if for example, I talk about Ferguson being potentially available on loan, and I know people are saying not Ferguson, but actually, if we got someone in on loan and then you revisit in the summer with, maybe more of a Delap type as a permanent signing, that would be an approach that I'd be keen on. I think he's back. The power's back in Kirby Muxloe.
Well, firstly, thank you to you two for saving the day. The power is back. I don't know what happened. I just flicked the old main switch and it came back on. Thank you very much to Paul, and thank you very much to Fothers, and thank you very much for Jack for the £2. Appreciate that. I won't ask you final thoughts because you just absolutely stalled relentlessly. Thank you. Is there anything either of you want to add before we depart?
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, I just talked about before about the 7-1 at Sheffield, and I was there for that. So, happy bringing back memories of scoring 7 goals. Is just watching that today was brilliant. And whatever happens between now and the end of the season, we'll always have today to look back on very, very fondly. So yeah, just really enjoyed talking about it, and obviously even more so watching it.
Yeah, exactly right. It'll always sort of show up on Twitter and in, all those videos and clips and everything for years and years to come. So it was a special day. Sorry, Fathers, go on.
No, I was just going to say, if Carlsberg did days, I've probably had it today. So I hosted, as you know, to about 600 people in the NAV pre-match. We've just smashed Brighton 7-0. I've had an article printed in the fanzine. Misrolling in. Yeah. And I've been on the podcast with you, Matt. I don't think days get any better than that. Just need England to win the rugby now, and I don't know how
we're winning at half time. And winning at half time.
in the lead at
Oh.
half time in Ireland. So that,
Yeah.
that would just top off the perfect day for me.
Mrs. Fotheringham, watch
lovely.
out. You might be in for a good night tonight.
We're not ending on that note. Jesus. Oh dear. Thank you very much, Danscape. You don't need to send me £1 super chat to top of the electrometer. I don't know what happened. A few things are making funny noises, so I'll better go and look at those after this, and hopefully there's no kind of fire hazards coming. But yeah, good to have everyone's company this evening. Do us a favour and hit like. You don't know already. I know I should keep saying that. But if you've enjoyed this, do consider subscribing, channel membership, Patreon, merchandise. It's all there for you, or just a lovely 5-star review on Spotify, or what's the other one? Apple Podcasts. Paul Morley, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it. Cheers, lads.
Well, you're an absolute hero. Simon Fotheringham, you're an absolute hero. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure, as always. Thanks for inviting me on.
Great to have you with us. Right, do join us on Monday, everyone, 9 p.m. with Lewis and the others, and then probably Tuesday or Wednesday we'll break down whatever happens in the transfer window. And yeah, we'll keep tabs on the Wolves Villa game if you're watching this live, because that's another one that could go our way. Right, have a good weekend, have a good evening, everyone, and if we don't see you Monday, we shall see you soon.